Okay, good.
Good.
Yeah, we're live. All right. We're just being boomers with our boomer technology. Hey, look, there's some random boxes here. Let's move these boxes out of the way so that I don't get fired for putting the branding of our company in the when we're belligerently insulting public figures. I'm going to hit the music.
Do it.
All right, I will.
West Tigers Faithful, episode 37. Half the world's on fire, but we continue to tick on like a toiler in the middle. Joe McCord, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Jared, how are you, my friend?
I'm good, man. I'm looking forward to seeing you on Friday. It's been many moons since we last saw each other. Somebody was asking me today when the next drunk cast was going to be. I said you were no longer on the drink, but first time we've seen each other since the drunk cast that ended our 2024 campaign. Very much looking forward to seeing you in the flesh.
Oh, that's so nice. It's nice to be wanted.
I'll tell you what else I want very desperately, and that's a win. But we'll preview that game a little bit later. Friday night. I can't believe we're playing on a Friday. It's been many moons since as well that we've had a Friday night game. But anywho, mate, what's been happening? Where do you want to start here? Do you want to start with Adam Reynolds? There's some chat about Latu Fainu going on. Where would you like to begin this conversation?
It's a strangely uneventful week in West Tigers newsdom, isn't it? It doesn't seem like it's not this natural thing to talk about. But I do know where to start. If you are watching this, please comment, like, subscribe, all that sort of crap, especially on YouTube and X.com. At Tigers Faithful, at West Tigers Faithful, whatever it is. Make sure you subscribe and hit the bell. If you're in the chat, if you're watching us live, say hi so we can have a chat, ask you questions. I'm not 100% sure whether my audio is good. If it's not, put us on blast. Tell us that it sucks because we'll fix it on the fly. But aside from that, Reedie, I think that the where I want to go on this one is probably to start with. Just to probably talk about, the Reynolds thing. That's probably a good place to start. I want to make sure that we spend some time today talking about the under-19s origin, because I think that's an interesting game this week, because we've got two West Tigers studs.
Potentially two West Tigers studs. I'm absolutely certain that the great Lutlau Le'i will be playing. It's just whether or not Mussy gets a crack. There is young Nikora Williams and Hayden Buchanan. Both of those boys have been playing Jersey flag and playing quite well. Hayden played left centre last year. It's just whether or not Mussy makes an impression through the week, which wouldn't surprise me if he does, given his talent. But we will see, I think, mate. But yeah, we can absolutely spend some time on that. We'll review the squads and we'll give a few people that we think are players of interest. So yes, we can absolutely do that. But as you mentioned, Adam Reynolds. Well, I mentioned at the top of the show as well. Adam Reynolds has projected
Just
our
one sec.
overtures.
Just one sec. I don't think this is actually going live for some reason. It's I'm on the YouTube on this screen over here, and it's not actually playing. There's 10 people seemingly waiting, but it's not playing on YouTube.
Right.
So I'm not 100% sure what's going on here. It might be that there's two streams, maybe. Yeah, there's two streams. That's the problem. Ugh, what a pain in the dick. Yeah, okay. So there's a live stream that is on, and then
Yes.
there's the scheduled stream that's not. Freaking Riverside all cooked. So we have 2 waiting in the scheduled stream, and we've got 9 watching on the live.
Interesting.
Absolute pain in the ass. Well, why don't you just talk while I try to fix that?
Oliver says we can see you and hear you. So that's
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There is a live stream going on, but there's also like there was a scheduled one that didn't start. So the
yeah.
scheduled one's currently just got a couple of poor motherfuckers sitting there waiting for us to go live in it.
No dramas. All right. Well, while you work that out, I'll have a look at what to do. Just pulling up these quotes for Adam Reynolds. So he said the appeal of being coached by Benji Marshall and playing alongside Jerome Luai seriously tempted him to join the West Tigers, but could ultimately not bring himself to leave his young family in Brisbane. And if you saw his vlog for his 300th game, you would understand. His house is phenomenal, to be honest. He's left about $1 million on the table. We offered him $750K a year for 2 years, 1.5 total. I was told earlier in the week that the Brisbane offer was only at around 300 to 350K. The Tigers actually made them pull out another 200,000 to keep Adam. So he was genuinely having a look. Now, I raised some concerns or some queries, not necessarily concerns, last week around whether or not Adam or West Tigers' interest in Adam was genuine. Nonetheless, he is staying with Brisbane, but it probably creates more questions than it does answers, and we'll talk about that a little bit. I'm already seeing some chat in the comments regarding Latu and so forth. But just to give you some quotes around what Adam said, he said, "Yes, I was seriously tempted. Benji is a great coach. I've always had a lot of time for him. I idolised him as a player when I was growing up, but at the end of the day, family is the most important thing. And if I did leave for Sydney, it'd be hard to have been without the family, and it was going to be too hard. The Tigers have a great spine, and I spoke to Benji about how me and Jerome could have worked. He's an instinctive player, who brings a lot of energy in place off the cuff, while I'm that organising half." Mac, are you willing? Are you right to speak now? Because I have a question for you.
Yeah, I'm a little frustrated at this stupid thing because like the Go Live went live with the same like title and description as last week's episode, so it would have told people that it would have seemed strange. Anyway, yes, go.
I guess my first question is that. I mean, I'm still confused as to whether or not this was a smokescreen, but my real question to you is that are we now at a point where the West Tigers believe that Jerome Luai is not going to work as a halfback and we're better off saying, to your point a couple of weeks back, sunk cost fallacy, we just accept that he's a 6 and we move on?
Well, I think that like it probably has to do with this not having Lachlan Galvin anymore. So, Lachlan Galvin, I think that the club almost rated Lachlan Galvin higher than they rated Jerome Luai. And Lachlan Galvin probably had the mortgage on the 6 jersey. And without Lachlan Galvin at the club, now we're just looking at it and being like, well, we've got a bloody world-class 6 playing 7. So it seems like a no-brainer from that perspective. And they probably rated Lachlan Galvin as further along in his development than Latu Fainu. And maybe there's also an element of Latu Fainu being somebody who they could see more as a 7 or a 13 or having more utility value than they potentially, saw Lockie as potentially having. Or maybe more so than Jerome. Who knows? But yes, I think the answer is yes. I think that they do. That it does seem like that they're planning to move forward with Luai as a 6.
Yeah. Well, with that in mind, it's obviously the question of who plays 7, and Adam has obviously rejected our overtures. I'm seeing some rumours around Jonah Glover, but to be honest with you, I think that he's actually less of a developed halfback than Latu. I think he's got some amazing skill with ball in hand. But in terms of his actual qualities as a halfback, the real basic intangibles, long kick, short kick, pressure, control, organisation, defence, I haven't seen heaps of that in State Cup, and I would have my concerns around him doing that in the NRL. Whether or not we go back in for Cherry Evans, I was told that we pretty much went off the boil once he had basically said, I'm a fair way down the road with the Roosters. Whether or not that deal gets resurrected, I'm not too sure. There are absolutely some concerns there now as to whether or not he's over the hill or whether or not it's Theobald's coaching. But let's just hone in on Latu there for a second. Now, people are concerned about him being named on the bench this weekend. I'm not. I think he's on a minutes restriction. That's my personal opinion. I think that he is far and away a much better 5'8" than Heath Mason, but I think it's simply about just getting him minutes at the moment and building his motor back up, similar to what we've done in the past. That's what it feels like to me. Do you feel the same? You're on mute, mate.
I'm not sure, Jared. Like, I think that it's weird because I would have picked Latu. Like, I guess you're probably right. Like, it's the most logical answer. Like, they probably just don't feel like Latu's 80 minutes match fit yet. That's if that's not the reason, then I'm a little confused. You know, a little bit bemused, a little bit worried because. Yeah, I think it's pretty obvious Latu's a better player than Heath Mason.
Yeah, I mean, look, Troy in the comments raises a really good point, and I think it speaks to what they want to do. I think that they've realised that Jerome is probably best being the sixth, and that's what they're going to push with. Less touches, but more qualitative, and they'll have an on-ball 7 that's able to play that organisational role, kick long and control games. I think, from my point of view, given both Latu's injury history and his inexperience, that they would have said to him, look, we need you to do an apprenticeship for a couple of years. You'll still play first grade, you'll play off the bench through the middle third, but you're going to shadow whoever the 7 is, week to week, at training, and, sort of, they'll take you under their wing in game. So that way, once this apprenticeship has been served, you'll be right to go. And I'll tell you what it actually reminds me of. It reminds me of when Penrith actually signed James Maloney. And sort of Luai and Cleary were always coming through at the same time. They opted to stagger them. They put a more experienced guy in there to give both Cleary the development that he needed, but also to hold Luai back. I feel like that might be what we're trying to do. But it is also reaching a point where we may have no choice, whether the Tigers like it or not, but to play Latu at 6 or 7 immediately. And I think that's the way it's going because they're running out of options.
Yeah, I think Troy's point more so is like, maybe it's not so much about like moving Luai to 6. Maybe it was just a potential opportunity that we saw, and bringing Adam Reynolds in and playing 7 is something of a no-brainer if you can have that, and then Luai at 6. But now that we've missed out on Reynolds, maybe we persevere with Jerome Luai as a 7. That's probably a fair point, right? There's nothing to indicate necessarily that now that the Reynolds, the Reynolds opportunity is gone, that we're going to force through this Jerome Luai moving back to 6 narrative. I guess we just have to watch what their moves are moving forward, right? Like, if we see them continue to go into the market after a 7, maybe some more rumours emerge about us dipping back into the Daly Cherry Evans market or something like that, then yes, maybe that says a little bit more. But yeah, I guess right now there's just not enough information to go by. I that's my view. Like, I would probably have agreed that it's a no-brainer for us to bring in Adam Reynolds. Like, I think that if you can get Adam Reynolds and play Adam Reynolds at 7 and Jerome Luai at 6, it's like, why wouldn't you if you're the West Tigers? I would personally actually persevere with moving Luai back to 6, though. Like, I would actually pull rank on that. I think it's a no-brainer.
And and you would just give Latu the time that he needs to develop at 7?
Yeah, I mean, I would bring in somebody, whoever I could, to compete with Latu as a 7. Like, Sean O'Sullivan did the same thing with Cartoa at Redcliffe. Sean O'Sullivan's off contract. He's not a bad shout for doing that. Something like that. I mean, obviously, if you can get somebody better, then you get somebody better.
I agree with you. I think that Sean would be a good pick. Like, I would much rather that than you go with another untested option in a Jonah Glover, and I think that Jonah Glover has plenty to offer, and he'll play a lot of first grade. But yeah, I would much rather that than have a really, really inexperienced halves depth chart, with the exception of Jerome. So look, I think the club is just trying to look at options simply because of Latu's injury history and his inexperience. And anybody who is panicking about it, Latu's not going to leave because, we're looking at an experienced half to give him the opportunity to develop. You know, he's going to be playing minutes week to week, irrespective of whether it's in the middle or on an edge. You know, his brothers are here. He loves the club, but in comparison to, you know, the things that he has said on the record compared to Lachlan Galvin, he has said, whatever the role is that I am required to do by my coach and my team, I will do it. This is a totally different ballgame that we are playing with. So
yeah, probably. Like you're probably right. Like, I mean, I'd say there's nothing to indicate that Latu's as unsettled as Lachlan was. So any of the anxiety people feel as a leftover from the Galvin experience doesn't really apply to Latu Finu at all. He's contracted for longer than Lachlan was. He's got two brothers at the club. His manager has way more players at the club than Lachlan's manager had at the club, although his manager did just get stood down. So there is that, which probably means that his manager's going to be a little bit less active in the agitation game for a little while anyway. So
that means nothing.
Yeah, he'll just get his offsider to do stuff on it. But no, you're right. I think he can be patient with Latu Finu. I think that as Steph says in the chat, it's probably just because Latu's not got through an 80-minute game. He's got, I think we pointed out a couple of weeks ago, he's got through two 80-minute performances in the last year and a half. So, making sure that he, gets match fit before you expect 80 minutes out of him is probably just a smart play. Interesting bench bringing Talon back in. You've got Latu and Talon now on the bench. So they've gone small again. And they've got Jack Bird on the bench, who is, a back that has become a forward. So again, we've only got one genuine forward on the bench. Very strange against a pack the size of the Raiders. It's almost like they've gone even further down the small ball agility route this week, maybe to try to, I don't know, maybe their hope is that they can wear Canberra out and win with fast-paced footy.
We're certainly going to talk about that, but a quick spoiler alert, I don't think it's as bad as it looks. I don't think that Canberra's bench is as big as people think either, so I don't feel as if we're giving too much away. But just want to sort of circle away from that for a moment. We obviously had our rant about the officiating, both on X. Please follow us if you're not following us already, and you're on there, and on this podcast about the officiating recently. Shane Richardson did the exact same thing in a CEO update on Friday. He labelled some of the calls pretty ordinary. And he also said, I've learned over the years, though, that refereeing decisions never really go your way when you're battling up the ladder. For some reason, refs, and they're humans, they feel that the better teams are going to make the better mistakes, less mistakes, when really that's not the case. But, as Aaron Woods always says, it is what it is. Look, I'm actually quite happy of the fact that both the CEO and the coach of this club have actually put the officiating on notice. I'm not sure whether or not it will garner a response from the officials, but it's something that we've been crying out for a little bit of time. And, what Shane Richardson has said, I do agree with. And I think that, it's very similar to what Tim Sheen said a few years ago back on James Graham's podcast, where he basically said that, there's a little bit of confirmation bias around, the lesser teams or the less favoured teams. And quite frankly, it's the situation that we delve in, and as Richo said, we've got to get better, and those calls will swing our way. But I, for one, am quite happy to see that the club is very much making the NRL world aware that we're not particularly happy with what's going on at the minute.
Yeah, same. I think that it's overdue. Whether it's going to do anything positive remains to be seen, but they have to stand up for themselves. I think that Richo's perspective on it was quite pragmatic. If they have issue with Richo's perspective on it, then they really need to be less sensitive, because that's just, he's not even really leveling any kind of blame. There's no corruption allegations, no incompetence allegations. He's pointing out that it's just a human response for the referees. Which is why I think that the story that came out yesterday about the Australian Rugby League Commission implementing a review process whereby they can overrule match review decisions and send things to the judiciary themselves may be a response to Richo, to be honest. It kind of vibes that way to me, the timing of it and the nature of it. Annesley obviously coming out and saying Jerome's hit was a hit. Nobody talking about the hip drop. It's those sort of things where I could see the ARL Commission being like, you know what, like, doesn't matter. Like, Graham Annesley, the match review committee is what, like, a handful of people with one figurehead guy. There's nothing wrong with having like an additional judicial layer that goes, you know what, let's send more stuff to the judiciary to look at. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, if anything, I think it's a good thing that there's like an extra layer there in case the match review committee missed something obvious. It allows the media narrative to build up, and then the ARL Commission can look at it and be like, wow, how'd you miss that? Yeah, we'll send that on. Right now, they don't have any lever to pull for something like that. So for all the people that are complaining about that decision from Volandis, I'm not 100% sure why. I think it's a decent thing to have added to the arsenal.
Yeah, I agree with you. At the end of the day, we worry about bunker intervention, mid-game and pulling up certain things. And yes, they went too far when they sort of had the quote-unquote crackdown around high shots. But I personally have no real issue with them doing it post-game. And, if that means that, more people are rightly charged for certain things. I had a crack the other week about how Moses Liotta had a crusher tackle that went unpunished. It's things like that really, really hurt a lot of teams, but the Tigers being one of them. So I'm all for it, and hopefully, the psychology around it. Hopefully, it puts the referees on notice when officiating Tigers games. There wasn't too much else to sort of pull out of Richo's update. He basically said that they're going to be really mindful of who they recruit. They want to build a top 4 roster ready for the quote-unquote crocodile roll. He actually said that. So I wouldn't expect too much on the recruitment front. I think the market's pretty dry. I think that they will definitely keep a couple of spots open and they'll wait till the end of the year. Again, we've been linked with it, obviously Glover. There's been some whispers around, some potentially some forwards in England. I don't really have names, but look, I think that our priority positions now are backup half and in the forwards, both at lock and prop, and the back row is, but again, the market's pretty dry. We did exceptionally well to get Kai Pearce-Paul. Taylor May as a footballer is a valuable pickup, pending how he returns to play. I don't expect to see heaps on the recruitment front unless we do go out for that 7 and take an opportunity like we sort of mentioned earlier.
Well, yeah, there's only 13 days left till 30th of June, and we're still playing with the short roster. So I'm curious as to what they're going to do to get us up to 30 before June 30. You'd have to think that they will. If they don't, I'm going to be really confused and ask a lot of weird questions because what? It's just limiting yourself for no apparent reason. There are some guys that have been pushing themselves for potentially getting, a top 30 deal for the rest of the year in New South Wales Cup, I guess. If they want to, just play it that way. I see Isaac Tuitupu is now on the extended bench for the first time. And he's played really, really well over the last month and a half in New South Wales Cup. So there's a couple of guys like that, Jackson Rami being another one. We saw Eliel Zakham on the extended bench last week. So maybe that's the direction they go. They got to do something, though.
Yeah, I think they definitely do. I think there needs to be some sort of recruitment externally. A guy that I had my eye on for a little while there was Bunty Afoa. Love Bunty, and I think he'd be a cold hero at West Tigers overnight. But with Mitchell Barnett's ACL, I think that'll be difficult. I know for a fact that the club did ask questions around Trey Mooney's availability to Canberra. I don't know whether or not that was related to the Peter Ta'ateo signing, but nonetheless, I agree with you. I really hope we see some movement in the next 13 days, but knowing West Tigers, I'm not particularly optimistic. I think he will get upgraded. I think he's absolutely going to get an upgrade. I don't know really who else will.
I mean, I suspect that they already have, done something, because it's weird that there hasn't been any action. For all I know, they may have already upgraded Tristan Hope and may already have upgraded Heath Mason. But it'd be nice to know, because at the moment it's just coming across incompetent if they haven't actually done anything. It's actually, making me question what the hell's going on. If anybody from the Tigers is listening, can you give us an update on this sort of stuff? Be great. Thanks. Cheers.
That would be nice. Nonetheless, 13 days, I'm sure we'll hear something in the meantime. Mate, I think it's time we preview this game. What do you reckon?
Sure.
Okay, Friday night, West Tigers play the Canberra Raiders 8 o'clock at Campbelltown Stadium. If you are thinking about going, go. Why? Because this may well be our last ever game at Campbelltown Stadium. I know that it is a losing ground for us, but if you want to experience it for the first time or the last time, make sure you get out there. The West Tigers have named a near full-strength side. Jareem Buller is the fullback, Sania Taruva and Jarrell Skelton the wingers, Adam Dewey and Stafford Tile the centres, the halves, Heath Mason and Jerome Luai in the 7. We'll talk about that in a little moment. The forward pack, we are back to full strength. Terrell May, upper side Coruscant, Fanua Bole, Samuela Fainu, Alex Seafarth, Alex Twal. The bench talent, as you mentioned, is back. Sione Fainu is back to the bench. Latu Fainu takes jersey 16 and Jack Bird is in the 17. For the Canberra Raiders, Savelio Tamale, who is a player that I have very much liked for many years, and I thought he was a wonderful pickup for them, unfortunately has attended 12-week injury. He will be on the sidelines for that period. Jed Stewart, who is Ricky's son, comes onto the Sting, and near West Tigers recruit Corey Horsburgh plays his 100th NRL game. So, look, obviously we get a few back, question marks around Jerome. I believe that if we turn up the same way we did against Penrith, this is a close game. But obviously, there's a lot of question marks around Jerome's availability. How did you take the news of Jerome being recalled to New South Wales, and what do you think his chances are of backing up?
Well, he's not even named on the extended bench.
He's starting at halfback.
Oh, is he named starter? Yeah, sorry. Sorry, haven't been sleeping well. It's Jerome Luai. Like, he probably will back up. He's unless he cops an injury or something. Like, it's Jerome Luai. He's the captain. I know he cares more about the outcome of like West Tigers season than pretty much anybody else in the team at the moment. So, I think if he wakes up on Friday feeling all right, I suspect he'll play. Happy to see him get called up. Hopefully, my hope is that he, it was probably good timing that he had a good game last week. Now he'll play, in a really good side that probably wins, touch wood. In his more natural position, he might find himself again, stringing another good performance on the back of last week's good performance and hopefully take that into this game. Potentially... I don't know. Potentially, the you might still see Latu Fainu actually come into the starting side. Maybe, yeah. So maybe there's all this talk we were just having about Latu Fainu being on the bench might be just a smokescreen.
Yeah, I mean, possibly. I'm not too sure what the New South Wales boys are doing. I assume that they'll get probably the first flight out of Perth on Thursday morning. I'm curious as to whether both Jerome and Hudson Young get a charter flight Wednesday night straight out of there. But look, he's as professional as ever, Jerome. So we'll see what happens there. We need him, irrespective of what state he's in. So hopefully he does play. But with Heath and Latu, that might be fun to watch. Yeah, obviously, despite the quality of the opposition, Canberra, I think. Look, they have a big starting forward pack. Joe Tapine is in phenomenal form. I think Corey Horsburgh was really unlucky to miss out on that Queensland side. But I think that this is a team where they are a phenomenal side, and they get a lot out of their collective energies. I do believe, though, that if you can move them around a little bit and stay in the contest, that this is a team that can be beaten. Again, a phenomenal side, and they deserve to be where they are, and that's a credit to Ricky and their playing group. But I give us a bigger chance than what a lot of people do.
Yeah, I think that they're a little bit overrated, and not because of anything that they've done. I just think that this season. Every side's a lot more close, right? Even the Dogs, right? The Dogs got absolutely thrashed by the Dolphins a couple of weeks ago. So, I think that there's not really a standout side in the NRL. It's kind of been Canberra and the Dogs have just happened to not lose as many games as some other teams have. I look at them on paper and I think we match up okay. I think. I agree with you. I think, if we apply ourselves here, this game can be won. We won the corresponding game last year, if I remember correctly.
We did in a game where we were very much inclined to spread the ball quickly and in our own end early in the tackle count, and that really led to some holes in Canberra's defensive line. I think there's absolutely an opportunity to do that again, and there is absolutely points around guys like Sasungi, who even though I'm a big fan of him, I think that you can isolate Hosking a little bit. I think that's Strange, if you can play quite deep into the line and get that lead runner running hard at him, there's space to be created out the back. Tim McCaw and Chris have their moments defensively. I think it'll be a really, really interesting one. The Raiders do not quit. We've shown that, at our best, that we will absolutely play for 80. And it is a great time to get Fanua Bolle and Alex Twile back. I can't speak to how important it is to have those two boys back. I anticipate that Terrell will go for 80, especially off the back of a bye week and given the size of our bench. But yeah, I'm really, really excited by particularly the matchup of May and Tapine in the middle.
I think Canberra are very high on confidence. They're a fairly high energy side. Like they all sort of go flat out, and I think they play with a lot of good cohesion when they're confident and things click, and they can sort of get like on a run. In that sense, I feel like the trick to Canberra is to try to. It's like going to be playing in like key moments to try to get them to change and move away from what makes them good. So like if we can hold them out early and score the first try, for instance, like that's going to change the dynamic of the game. Like that would be a key performance indicator for me. It'd be like first 10 minutes is so important. If you guys can score the first try, like the chances of winning the game just drastically go up. Because Canberra will start to then push passes and things like this, and so too, that period either side of half time that usually haunts us so much. I think making sure that we're really strong in between the 35th and 50th minute. Just making sure that at that point we don't push the passes, don't give away any silly penalties. Just hold there. Like I think if we write a good game script. We have a good chance of winning, because I feel like during those moments when the game's sort of in the balance and the sides are kind of in the grind, I feel like we'll hang in there with them without much fuss. It's just making sure that they don't little bit. You don't want to see the game play out the same way the Broncos game played out earlier in the year. You know what I mean? Like where in those moments where Canberra had the momentum, where Brisbane had the momentum, they scored tries. When we had the momentum, we didn't score tries. I think, and that's probably what the Tigers have to learn, right? Is like the finer points of like almost like narrative control of a game, where a really good halfback kind of dictates that, with a well-timed 40-20 or turning them around with a good deep kick. That's kind of I think the missing piece for us. I did see some signs in Jerome Luai last game that he sort of turned the corner a little bit there. He nearly nailed a 40-20. Hopefully we can get the job done in that regard.
I agree. Jamal Fogarty obviously is a noted long distance kicker. So I would anticipate that the Tigers will have to soak up a fair bit of pressure, but I think that will also result in us playing quite expansively within our own half. I think that they will do that simply because our long kicking game, let's face it, with or without Jerome, won't be particularly great. I would anticipate that, but also expect, early kicks from Uppy and Jerome if he plays. For me, I think the key is simply just to hold the fort early. I think that if we can go with them and stay with them for that first sort of 25-30 and, really look after that, that very, very dangerous 10-minute spell after half time, Owen Paddy and Talon De Silva is a great little matchup too. Two very dynamic hookers out of the in the middle. But if we can allow Talon and Latu to do their thing in the middle corridor, and really get us a roll down field, providing that our starters keep us in the match or get us out in front, then I think that we can have reason to be optimistic.
I just noticed something that's really quite interesting. So if you look at Canberra's season so far, their games where they travelled, they played the Warriors in Las Vegas, so that wasn't a genuine Warriors home game that they won. That they beat the Broncos in round two at home. They got flogged by Manly at Brookvale. They got flogged by the Cowboys in Townsville. Then they beat the Sharks at home, and then they flogged the Eels in an away game that was actually in Darwin. Right, it wasn't actually a genuine Parramatta home game. They went up and they played the Titans in a close one at Seabus.
They were shaky that day.
Then they beat the Dolphins in Canberra. They won by 2 points against the Storm, but that wasn't in Melbourne. That was at Suncorp. And then they lost to the Dogs at home, beat the Titans at home. They had a very narrow win over the Warriors away, and then they had a very narrow win over the Roosters away. So there's only been 2 games this season that they've actually genuinely won on the road at the other team's home ground, and they were very close. Oh, sorry, 3 if you count the. So I don't know whether they actually travel all that well, to be honest. Like it doesn't, like, they haven't put anybody to the sword. They haven't gone into another team's home stadium and put anybody to the sword this season once.
Well, that certainly plays in our hands, and with a full strength forward pack, there's certainly opportunity there for a win for us. I think we've pretty much covered most angles of the game. Is there anything else on your tip sheet? I guess for me personally, it's just, it's just those bench middles. Obviously, I think Terrell will play 80. I'm not too sure how long Fanua and Alex play in their first week back. I think Sione will certainly play a lot of minutes off the pine, and Latu, once he gets on, will probably play 50 to 55. But yeah, just dealing with those, dealing with the size mismatch, I guess, a little bit. Again, like Sasungi's a back rower, Smithies is a lock forward, Mariota is their only true prop on the pine. Is there sort of reason to be concerned, or is that sort of that small ball, fast, flat, good line speed, potentially play into our hands a little bit?
I think that it'll play into our hands as much as it doesn't, right? That sort of dynamic to me implies that momentum swings are going to be really important in this game. Whether, it's them fading and us starting to like win around the ruck with smaller players, or, us just getting tired because we're having to defend against big guys in the middle and our middle just collapsing. I could certainly see both sides going on a run. That's why I think the first period of the game is going to be really, really important. If we can sort of, be in there after 20 minutes with a lead, I could see us going into halftime with a good lead. I've seen that a couple of times this season where we've sort of gone into halftime up quite a bit, and those have been the games where we've ended up performing quite well by the end. So. Yeah, look, I'm not really. Aside from that, I'm surprised to see Tony Sakar get relegated to the extended bench. I think he's been good. I would have picked him ahead of Jack Bird. I would have honestly picked him ahead of Sam Wellafinu and Alex Seaforth personally. But aside from that, not really anything else to report.
Well, with that in mind, score prediction. I am going to back us for a win. 28 to 14.
I have a good vibe. 28 to 14 is a big win, Jared.
I know.
Yeah, I have a similar vibe though. I think that the Raiders they're on a run, and they are kind of. It looks like they're kind of at the end of the run, if that makes sense. Yeah, like they had the win last week against the Rabbitohs, which was a little bit of a let off after a couple of pretty hard on the road victories. I could see us winning this game too. I think, I don't know, with all 4 of us there sitting together manifesting reality, I think I could see us putting a good score together, maybe 36-10.
You heard it here first. Tigers 13 plus from both of us. All right, let's talk about pathways. It was a fucking great weekend for our pathways, let me tell you. Flag won 58 to 10, and New South Wales Cup. I don't have the score in front of me, but they did beat Blacktown / Manly quite considerably as well. I'll start on Flag. 58 to 10, one of the more complete performances I've seen from this.
I watched it too.
Yeah, they were excellent. There's a lot of players to call out. It was a genuine team performance, but I think that it was a lot of playing rugby league the way that it's meant to be played. Our forwards, Harry Delaney, the captain, Elijah Mata-Ale, Shaquille Tavita off the bench, Joseph Lanyon by extension playing a bit of 13, and Jesley Adagaga laid the platform. Jared Haywood was able to dictate play through the middle corridor, which then gave guys like Iverson Matai all the time in the world to create the points, that we scored. It was great to watch, and if you have a Bar TV subscription, I implore you to go and watch it back because that was fucking fun.
Yeah, I thought that game was really impressive. It's interesting. Like the Flag side has crazy good depth, doesn't it? Like there's some really good players that are currently missing out on selection. With Tino Tavana coming back in, Cameron Canaan doesn't get a run. Cameron Canaan played reserve grade earlier in the year, so there's definitely there's some good forwards that are out of the picture at the moment in Duncombe and so on. Yeah, it was good. I continue to be impressed by the Tautua brothers. I think that they've got a lot to offer. Very progressive. Tino Tavana, somebody who, like every time he plays, he does something freakish. Like that kid's got stuff you cannot teach. If we don't wrap him up, somebody's going to unearth him and turn him into a rough diamond in first grade at another club. I hope the club rates him as much as we do.
Yeah, man. He gives me very similar Jareen Buller 2022 vibes, just absolutely ripping through Jersey Flag, and he just has this ability to just break games open. If you go back and watch the highlights of the game, whatever you like, he steps around 4 different players, puts the afterburners on, draws and passes, from the fullback to Mark Tanos. It's just phenomenal. He's good in the air. He can ball play as well. You saw that in the trials. There is just so much to like about him. To me, he is a development contract guy for next year. If you're going to give deals to Haywood, Moores, Godinay, I totally get it. There are 3 best SG ball age boys, but Tino has got to be there, and I agree with you. The Tautua twins were excellent as well. I gave mention to a lot of the middles, but Byron Lau-Pepper, I think he's beginning to fly under the radar as far as these SG ball graduates go. Logan Brooks, the Ninja, we've spoken about him a handful of times, and he really looks to be finding his feet in this grade. I think he still looks like a schoolboy out there, but nonetheless, he still has this uncanny ability to break games open. Mark Tanos is doing as he always does, just organisational, straight. He plays straight, plays calm, kicks well. Jared Haywood, as we mentioned, is controlling things, but I'm seeing some really, really good touches from Lau-Pepper when he gets a chance. He doesn't always get it right, but he's one that I am extremely bullish on and continue to really get excited about. Who else caught you up?
Unfortunately, Lau-Pepper has been dropped.
Yes.
But Logan Deninja, man, I think very exciting considering he's a first year SG ball player. I'm pretty sure. I think, or maybe because he came from Queensland. I'm not sure. He could be a second year SG ball player, but given his age, being able to step up to flag and look like one of the better players on the field. He's not dominating the grade. He's not untouchable, but he looks better than most of the other guys on the field in only his first handful of flag games. I really like the level of involvement that I'm seeing from him, because to me that was always my knock. But he's taking one off the ruck runs, trying to find space through the middle, through a really nice cutout pass for a try. I really like what I'm seeing from him. It's just a good side. I'm really glad that, now that we've seen some of the SG ball players from both of those sides meet in the middle in flag, that we're actually being able to see that the pathways generally are what we thought they were.
Yeah, man. And just quietly, I'm very, very happy to see a lot of these Balmain boys in black primary West Tigers strips. I reckon it's unreal. Two guys that are full-time contracted, Will Craig and Solo Sakuru. I thought Will had an excellent game. Scored a try off,
Yeah, he did.
off a really nice sweeping shape, block to block to block. Finished it off really, really nicely. Had 2 try assists, some really nice last touches. You know, has the ability to absorb contact, get the arm free, and sort of flick that ball out. But most importantly, and it's been an issue for him against some better teams, he was as safe as houses under the high ball and finished his opportunities. I thought he was great. And Solo Sakuru, I don't think he's ever going to score a hat-trick that easily, just sort of being turned back on the inside and running sort of on the outside shoulder of the inside shoulder of the A defender. But it looks an inspired move, and that very, very subtle switching Mitch Tautua and Solo he's really looking to pay off. And I was giggling earlier in the week. You said that Solo against Cronulla was probably worst on ground. He certainly wasn't that on the weekend.
Yeah, I saw that comment. I watched the game after you said that comment, so I kept a close eye on him, and I was really impressed. I think he's still very raw, but he has the makings of a really good back rower. I think that the days of him playing on the wing and maybe even centre are probably behind him now. I think that he's shown that back row is his position in this grade, and I don't think he's going to get any smaller as he develops. So I suspect that he'll be a forward moving forward, which is good because we need back row depth. And he is contracted to this side for next year in top 30. So yeah, it's a good thing. If he puts a few more games like that together, maybe he'll get moved up into New South Wales Cup, because obviously, we've committed to him. We're paying him on a top 30 deal, so we'll want to see what he plays like against men. So wouldn't surprise me if you see him playing in the pack in New South Wales Cup in a few weeks.
Agree with you there, mate. Rolling next week against the Dragons, who are a team that we got absolutely trounced by. We were right in that game up to our eyeballs until the end. Some magic by Cade Reed and a couple other guys, brought us undone. They got some very, very good players there. Charles Heidke, who didn't deserve to be dropped from New South Wales Cup after a blinder last week, lines back up at left centre. Jesse Williams is a phenomenal talent on that left wing for the Dragons. Cade Reed, who I mentioned earlier. Cyrus Stanley Trail is playing in the back row. He was actually named in the Origin 19 side, so it looks as if he won't be playing. But against the Tigers, he'll be hard to handle. This is a good test for our boys, and it's probably come at a good time. But look, massive rap is due for Shane Sultana. This team looks structured. They look hungry. They look like what a 21 side should look like, and it's really good to see these boys from the 19s transition and excel.
Must be a good coach.
Yeah, man. Well, he's one of Richo's boys. He's an old South Cup coach, so very, very happy with that result. So good luck to the boys this weekend.
Wasn't he the SG Ball coach for Balmain this year?
He was.
Yeah, and they had a ripping season considering how bad their squad was. And then they trailed off towards the end, but he was definitely getting a lot of value out of a pretty average squad in SG Ball this year. So he might be something to Shane Sultana to keep an eye on.
Agreed, mate. On to something there. All right, good luck with the boys this weekend. Magpies beat the Sea Eagles 32-10 in New South Wales Cup. Interesting game. I guess the easiest way to describe it is that we started beautifully. I thought that the tries to Kit, Laulii and Jackson Rami typified a lot of how this game went. Our middles were just much better than theirs, and they had an impact on the scoreboard. A credit has to go as well to our outside backs, particularly Charlie Staines and Isaac Tuitupor. I thought they were phenomenal out of yardage. I thought they were safe. They did some great things defensively, and they were rightfully rewarded. But I really just want to hone in on Kit Laulii here. First time we've really seen him with a lot of involvement, 12 hit-ups. For 168 metres, which is fucking insane. He had a line break, he had a try for his trouble, 17 tackles, 2 missed, which is pretty good for Kit. But, mate, when he got on for his second stint, the game was in the balance. Within 2 to 3 hit-ups, Manly were done. He created two point scoring opportunities. He attracted 2 penalties, which allowed 2 penalty kicks for us to put the game, beyond sort of 2 or 3 converted tries. I thought he was excellent, and I really, really hope this was the penny drop game for him. I thought he was excellent.
Yeah, I hope so too. I think he's obviously somebody that we need to see progress. We've invested a lot in him. His brother's at the club, and he's been named in the top 17 at least once this season. So and we're short of middles. So it would be good if he progressed. Up until last week, he'd been outplayed pretty much every week in the previous month by Jackson Rami, who had another good game. Like, Rami did not have a bad game. Kit just had a standout game. And I guess that just goes to show, Kit might have the higher ceiling if he can play like that every week. If he can play like that every week, he's a first grader, that's for sure.
I just want to take a dump on one Warren Ronald McDonald. Gone over to Manly as one of Isaac Moses' puppets after he was sacked from his job from West Tigers yet again. Brandon Wakeham was playing fullback for Manly. I don't know why the fuck they did that, but good old Samisi Kiora of West Tigers 2023 New South Wales Cup fame was also there. A lot of these recruitments were not good ones, in my view, and befitting of a very, very good recruitment manager. But I tell you what, some of the signings that we have made to this Magpies side have been masterstrokes. Tui Tupou, we shouted out before. Mapapa Lungi's really, really growing into that 5/8 role, and I really, really hope to see him on a full-time contract next year. Development, if not top 30. Iliel's Cam, although he's got his shaky moments defensively, he's doing some good things. Luke Jack is almost like a Seafarth clone on that right edge. He's doing some good things. And Charlie Murray really typifies his attitude with 2 try assists and a great performance in 55 minutes. 12 runs for 131 metres, 17 tackles in the middle, 1 missed, 2 ineffective. But 2 try assists is extremely impressive. So well done to those boys. Good team effort. If there's anything to work on, I'm hoping that the spine takes a little bit more control and we capitalise on our field position, in those really key moments, sort of 15, 20 out from full time, as opposed to, the last couple of minutes.
Yeah, I think
really put the game beyond doubt.
I think I was a little bit drunk or something last week because I said Charlie Murray was a schoolboy that played with Thomas Stuffy up at Ignatius Park. It's actually Luke Jack. I was mixing them up. Luke Jack is the one that was the Australian schoolboy that played with Thomas Stuffy in the Australian schoolboys, and Jackson Rami in the Australian schoolboys. So Luke Jack's got a pretty good pedigree. And I had a bit of a look at some of the chatter around him, over the last couple of seasons up in Queensland, and he was a bit of a standout performer in Queensland. He had some pretty good games, and he sort of flew under the radar when we brought him into the side. But he scored a few tries in a few games in a row. He tackles hard, runs hard. He's got that dog in him. He's a little bit of a like a Liam Martin type of player, like smaller model, ferocious competitor, like energy leader. He's got something about him. I like him.
I agree, man. He's actually 18th man this week as Tony Sukar files back into that side. For all of their great form, this side is going to have to batten down the hatches this week against the Dragons. I'll just read out their team list. I think there is only one player, ironically it's a player we are apparently targeting, that has not played first grade. Nonetheless, Cody Ramsey, captain and fullback, the wingers Tyrell Sloan and Christian Tuipulotu, the centres Corey Allen and last week's debutant Nick Sugranis, Jonah Glover, Lachlan Ilias, the halves, the forward pack, Laurie, Connor Muleisen, Emre Gula, Michael Molo, Raymond Fatala Mariner, and Hame Saleh. The bench, Harley Finau, Viliami Fafita, Jacob Webster, and Ben Murdoch-Masila. Look, this is going to be a tough old game for the Maggies this week. This was the week that they needed Luke and Talon.
A bunch of plotters. Bunch of reserve grade plotters, mate. Just because they played first grade.
How good would it be?
I remember when we named a side. I don't know if it was this year or last year, but I remember looking at our side and seeing that we'd named a side that had almost 17 first grade players that had played first grade, and we got flogged that week. I remember that. It was one of the weeks. I think it was one of the weeks Clemmer played New South Wales Cup.
Yes,
We-
that was early in the year.
Yeah, we got flogged.
That's going to be that might be a drubbing, but nonetheless, it'll be fun.
Maybe. I mean, like, yeah, some of them have played first grade. I get it, but like Corey Allen, Christian Tuipulotu, Cody Ramsey, Lachlan Ilias, like they've played first grade, but none of them are good first graders. Like they're all sort of been playing first grade because the Dragons are a rabble that don't have any good players.
Correct.
Like Blake Laurie's an out and out reserve grader. Let's be honest. Like, come on, let's not overestimate them here.
Well,
They're playing against a side that has much higher pedigree. They're just inexperienced comparatively. So the boys need to just have some belief and just come out and just play like the way that they've been playing. And I think they have every chance.
I hope that pays off, mate. I guess we'll see, but I'm not predicting a positive result. Let's talk Origin 19s. That's on Thursday night. Two West Tigers affiliated players have been picked for New South Wales, none for Queensland. I'll be brutally honest, I don't know heaps about this Queensland side apart from a handful of players. Do you want to talk through some insights that you might have, mate?
Where's the sides? Give me a link. Where can I find it?
I'll send them to you. One moment. Very quickly. 1 second. Sorry.
As a Queenslander, you would think I would know all of them, but I think the chances are pretty slim.
Well, Kobe Black's in the side.
Yeah.
Kobe's a halfback of note. Cooper Bai, who I believe is Marcus's son, he'll line up on the wing. He's a very big, tall, gangly Kumar winger. Keep an eye on Phillip Coates as well. I think he'll play in the centres. He's affiliated with the Broncos. He's Xavier's brother. Javon Andrews is a former West Tigers contracted player. He actually got out of that junior contract on compassionate grounds.
I remember him.
Touch football background, big, tall, 5'8". Think like a Tyson Gamble, but a little bit more elusive, a little bit more ball playing skill. I'm not too sure whether or not he still is a half, but keep an eye on him. And Sam Stevenson from the Titans is another one that's in my little black book as well. I'm a fan of him as well. He's a centre.
Yeah, I recognise a few of these guys. So you've got Jai Bowden, son of Rusty Bowden. Remember him?
No, I don't.
You don't remember Rusty Bowden? He played Origin.
Nah.
Mate, you're a young... I just made that up, by the way. I don't even know if he is the son of Rusty Bowden. But what I do know for sure is Kobe Floro. He's the nephew of Greg Florimo, former Manly great. Oh, wait, no, sorry. Floro, not Florimo. Sam Hine. Sam Hine. Uncle used to play fullback for Parramatta.
Okay.
Jared Hine, you remember him?
No.
Yeah, Jared Hine. Got himself in some trouble when he went over to the States one time.
God, we are knocking it out of the ballpark when it comes to analysis here, just tying relatives of these kids to scandals.
Ray Peru, he's related to those Sharks boys.
Yeah, I think he might be actually. He's he is actually a player to note. He can play, so keep an eye on him.
Yeah, he's related to those Sharks boys. You know the ones I'm talking about.
Yes, I do. Niwai and the other one. Anyway, look, let's talk about New South Wales because we actually know some shit. I'll just talk about it quickly. So Hayden Buchanan, very, very small, lightning fast, powerful centre, built low to the ground, wears a headgear. He played in this fixture last year and actually had a good impact. I'd expect him to dominate this fixture. Keep an eye on him. Cooper Clark is a former West Magpie. Those who are familiar with the pathways will know that he is Zachary Clark's younger brother. News Limited have likened him to a young Payne Haas. I don't think he's a young Payne Haas at all. He's a ball playing prop. Melbourne play him as a bit of a 13. There is absolutely raps on him, and I understand them. He's a talented kid, and both Clark brothers can ball play through the middle. It is absolutely a talent they possess. Keep an eye on him on Thursday night. He does some good stuff. Jacob Halanahu is a David Fafita clone, but the good David Fafita. He is a right edge back rower. He is a very, very good back rower. The question around New South Wales is mainly their halves. I'm seeing a lot of people saying that the Toby Rodwell and Mitchell Woods will be the halves. I don't think that's correct. I actually think that Zane Harrison will play in the halves with Mitchell Woods that evening, and I think that Rodwell will play off the bench.
Well, I think Zane Harrison's a little bit further along in his development than Rodwell. I think Zane Harrison's actually. I would pick Zane Harrison ahead of Rodwell based on how Rodwell's developed. I think that probably if you had have asked me 2 years ago, where Rodwell would be in his development, I would have thought he'd be further along. But I think he's a little bit plateaued. So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. What name that stands out for me is Lamoto.
I don't believe that's Hines. I think that's his brother.
Are you sure?
Yeah, that's.
Are you sure Hines just doesn't have a weird name?
I'm fairly certain.
Yeah, okay. All right. Well, if that's not Heinz Lamoto and he has a brother named Hokafonu Lamoto, I'm just going to assume he's a clone.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a fair thing to do. No, I think they're two different players, but I may well be wrong there. Look, I think that Rodwell is a phenomenal player and he's rightly on a long-term deal at the Chooks. You saw what he did in that SG Ball Grand Final. He is a phenomenal talent. But I agree with you. I think that Harrison and Woods are further down the line. You saw Mitchell play in his State Cup debut against the Magpies the other week. I would really expect him to take this game by the scruff of the neck, similar to what you saw with Jonah Pezzett in his fixture a couple of years ago. Going back into this squad, Cody Hopwood, very, very highly rated by the Newcastle Knights. They're not overly fussed about losing Leo Thompson because of this kid. He's going okay in New South Wales Cup, not super well, but his pedigree is clear. Lukey Lau will talk about in a little bit. Mussy will talk about it a little bit. Jethro Rinakama, we saw him in the pre-season challenge for the Dogs against us. Very, very big, tall Fijian outside back. I don't think he's uber talented, but obviously, it's size and speed at this age, and obviously he sort of understands what it's like to play against men in New South Wales Cup, so he's probably rightly got a spot. And Connor Vitano, who I'm a massive, massive fan of as well, is also in this side. Mate,
the Sharks player Nicara Williams is a pretty good player. I've seen him play in the flesh, and he goes good.
Yeah, he's a competitor. He just works hard. And I think that he might actually keep Mussy out of the squad, but we can time will tell. Mate, Luke has been absolutely tearing up New South Wales Cup. How do you anticipate he will go shifting back to the left wing for this game?
Oh, he's gonna carve. He's gonna carve. I've only seen him play a few times when he plays in rep squads, and he absolutely shits on them from a massive height every time. He's gonna carve. That's all I have to say about it. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets man of the match. He's gonna have over 200 meters. He's gonna have 2 or 3 line breaks. He'll probably score 2 or 3 tries. He's going to carve. The questions that'll be asked at the end of the game is why he wasn't playing fullback. That's what I reckon.
Oh, Vitano's very, very good.
I know Vitano's good, but yeah, I know. But
I agree with you, though. I think he's going to absolutely rip it up. Watch his yardage carries, watch his finish. Yeah. I can see him suplexing his opposite. It is going to be... It's going to be so much fun.
I think New South Wales are going to flog Queensland in this fixture.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be.
I think this is a drubbing too. Mussy, irrespective of whether he plays, it was a great little article written by the great Christian Nicolosi through the week. The Tigers, I'll quote a few things from the article. The Tigers have not ruled out pitching him into the centres in first grade this year and have already quickly signed until the end of the 2028 season. Tigers officials are quick to point out that there are only 5 more weeks till he turns 18 and he's able to play.
It reminds me of what's that when the chick that played 11 in Stranger Things was turning 18, and all of the like incels from around the world were like counting down the days till she turned 18.
Yeah,
That's like that's the freaking NRL fraternity equivalent of like that is like getting the hots for young Maori dudes, young Islander fellas.
yeah. Well, I'll tell you what I had the odds about. This quote. I had interest last year from Japan with the Panasonic Wild Knights. They tried to get me over and asked me to tour their facility while I also met with the Waratahs. But the Tigers are home. I'm a local junior. I can see something brewing at the club and I want to be a part of it. We waxed lyrical about Mussy in the preseason. We have very, very high praise of him and his comparisons to players such as Israel Folau and Jonah Lomu, I believe, are accurate. He is 108 kilos. He is 196 centimetres. And if we see him on Thursday night, you will get a bit of more of an idea of just how good this kid is. He had an interesting SG ball season. That his halves failed to use him in the correct way, and I think that teams were able to anticipate when he was going to get the footy, playing outside. A Zane Harrison or a Mitch Woods, I think he's going to be utilised very nicely pending he plays. I really, really hope we get to see him.
Yeah, I hope that they pick him too. I got to imagine that they wouldn't drag him away from GPS up to the Sunshine Coast if they weren't. Like, 'cause he hasn't been playing league. He hasn't played a game of league in anger in like 2 months. I don't know. We'll see, I guess. But like, I'd be curious to why they would bother taking him up there if he wasn't going to be named in the actual run-on side.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see. But nonetheless, good luck to those boys Thursday. Cannot wait to watch and we'll review.
Wouldn't
Mate,
be cool? Be cool if Marcy and Luke are both on the left. Wouldn't it? That'd be nice.
That would be my wet dream.
Would that be the first time they've played together that you know of?
Quite possibly, yes, and that's an edge that we've been quite bullish on, being our long-term left edge for some time.
We need to Josh Jackson, as in former Bulldogs back rower Josh Jackson. Is that the coach?
Yeah,
so it says here, Josh Jackson. We need to get on the blower to Josh Jackson and be like, come on, brother. We need a sneak peek. We need a sneek peek at the West Tigers Premiership winning left edge. Give us a go.
Yeah, maybe we should have a word, mate. Any questions there, or you want to wrap up?
We're good. We're Gucci. Sorry, I was a bit flat today. I'm a bit sick. I think I got COVID, and it's like, how sometimes COVID doesn't make you like flu-y sick. It just makes you feel like crap.
Well, rest up, mate, because we need you in good neck for Friday. I'll see. To anybody else who's at the ground, we might see you there as well. But I am very, very excited. I have tipped the win. I am. I think we'll win. Blindly confident, but
hey, that's how these wins happen. You gotta go to the ground and then just scream like a belligerent drunk girl. It's how fans generate victory.
You haven't been to a game with me yet. You'll get that. Don't worry.
Don't worry, you haven't been to a game with me either. I went to a game with my brother-in-law, the Redcliffe Dolphins versus Dragons at Suncorp. And I had a Redcliffe Dolphins beanie on. Like Redcliffe are okay. It's okay. It's my second team. I live in Brisbane. Don't get upset.
That's okay.
I haven't completely committed to defecting. But yeah, like it was the best because obviously the Dolphins flogged them, right? And there was this Dragons fan that was about 4 seats down from us. We were actually in an area with lots and lots of Dragons fans, but there was this one Dragons fan who, before the kickoff, he was like, get it up, you okay, come on, boys, get on side, rip. Like, he was, like, into it before the kickoff. And, like, you had, like, little old ladies and mums and dads just doing these ones, just, like, all upset at him. Because he's, like, having a crack. And, like, even the Dragons fans that were sitting around him were, like, eyeballing him, like, oh, mate. But none of the Dolphins fans were, like, stepping up. So I had no choice. I had to rip into him. So I was, like, giving it to him. I was, like, oh, mate, I was giving Sully all that and then some. I fed Sully the length. I gave him the length and both nuts. And yeah, it was great. It certainly was a fun night. But on the topic of manifestation, my brother-in-law, he manifested that win, and then he manifested the win the other night, and then quantum. It's on fire in our household.
Well, hopefully manifests a win for us on Friday night.
Well, we've got to get him down there.
Good luck to everybody watching. Good luck to all West Tigers affiliated teams. Hopefully we come back with a few dubs.
Yeah.
This has been West Tigers Faithful. Hopefully we'll speak to you next time and there'll be a win cast.
Go Tigers. Oi, have a look at my AKA. That was clusterfuck. Mac, AKA Mac.
Brian.
Hello.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm doing good.
That's good. Just returning your call.
Ah, okay. You must be. I'm just trying to find your name.
Joe.
Say again.
Joe.
No, you just made a booking through Airbnb through Stays.
Oh, yes, I have.
Yeah. The diary system shouldn't have let you make the booking. Because, and I called the diary system up and it's got a big flag on their system saying there's a conflict on dates. And it sent you an automatic acceptance and it shouldn't have done.
You there?
Because I've already got booking that week where some people are here on the Tuesday, on Wednesday, and generally they're going out on the Thursday, which makes it difficult for you to come when I've got people coming on the Friday as well. So
Okay, that's all good.
Unfortunately, I can't do that. So
That's all right. Do you have any Do you have like any like decent stretch of time during the school holidays that we can book it? Because we're pretty flexible. Like I haven't like put in the time off for work or anything yet.
Okay. Well, let me. Because I'm not in my office at the moment. I was just because let me just come back to you. That so. What dates are the school holidays? They're from the July. What till when?
They're from the 20-something of June. Let me just do this. The school holidays start on the 28th of June and go till the 13th of July.
Because your school holidays is going to be the issue. Because I'm just looking at the only thing I've got at the moment. It would be a couple of nights on the 15th and 16th of July by the looks of it.
No, that's okay. We can do that. It's only 2 nights, but that's okay. I can probably just find somewhere else around the area to extend it.
Yeah, but basically what I'll need to do is I'll need to get into my office and probably give you a call back in about half an hour, 3/4 hour.
Yeah, it's all good. Like, it's no rush for you to sort it out. If you want to do it tomorrow, that's totally fine.
Yeah. So I think I just need to double check. But 15th to 16th, I think is probably what's doable from there. I'm just trying to have a look. I'm looking at my phone while I'm talking to you, which makes it difficult. but put it this way, if you're happy with the 15th and 16th, then because otherwise the next one time after that would be about the 22nd, right? Which is after the school holidays come back. So
Well, that's also okay. Like, I mean, it'd be easier if if you didn't have to refund me, obviously. So if we can find another 4-day period to just move me into, that would be good. Do you want to just when you get a chance to sit down, just like have a look and see if there's like when the next Friday to Monday that you can give me is like if that's like in a month's time, that's okay.
yeah. Well, I think Friday to Monday. I'm just.
Yeah, that'll be tough.
So I'm looking at about something towards about the 28th of August.
Yeah, okay, all right, all right. Well, that's wishful thinking. You're a bit, your place is a little bit too popular.
Well, yeah, that's what I think. But tell you what, I'll let me sort out. What time were you available during work hours tomorrow, or because what time do you work? What time are you not available?
Oh mate, if you give me a call, I'll probably be right. Let me just double check my calendar.
Yeah. Okay. Well, what I'll do is I'll try and get into the office. I'll get to the office tonight, and if I can see a date that's going to give you the 4 days.
Yeah.
I'll give you a call back on that. If not, it's probably going to be the 2 days. Sort of like the. I might get it. I need to check on a couple of people what time they're checking in, right? Because sometimes people don't check in till 8 o'clock at night. If they're checking in at 8 o'clock at night, then I can check you out on the same days they're checking in. If that makes sense to you, because it gives us time to get the place ready.
Yeah.
But because we allow late checkout, it gets a bit difficult if we've only got 2 hours to get before somebody can get out and get in.
Yeah, if you have to do that as well, I'm happy to check out earlier than usual. Yeah. That's also fine. Because we're obviously going there to travel around and have a look at places, so that's no drama. See what you can do. Look, if we have to cancel, we'll just cancel. It's not the end of the world, mate. It's all good.
All right. How old are your children, by the way?
14 and 7.
Okay, because one of the things we do say to people when because of the terrain immediately around us and the house itself, it's not suitable for small children. Well, 14 is not exactly small, so
the other one's 7, but.
Yeah, it should be okay.
Yeah.
Again, it comes back down to usually if the thing is the reason we say it is because if we've had a few kids around 3 to 5, 6 and 7, but they've been shall we say
adventurous.
Adventurous, and also the parents have not been careful looking after them, shall we say.
So you've had some accidents.
Nothing went wrong, but the thing is, when you see them, when you sort of see the way the parents are, well, they're just wandering down to have a look down there, and they think, shit, I wouldn't go down there. So it's like, not as a child anyway, not even with a child, but you walk down there as an adult, but some of the places they're fairly steep, so. And if you go exploring the property, then which is fine, it can be fairly steep in a few places. So you wouldn't want to be. No, don't want to do that. Anyway, let me see what I can do, and I'll give you a call back either within half an hour, or if not, I'll give you a call in the morning.
No problem, mate.
Okay.
No worries. See ya.
Bye.
Bye. All right, you got to follow this process exactly, otherwise it doesn't trigger the workflow. So find the company record that you want to turn it into a partner. In the lifecycle and deal section, you hit add and you fill this form out. You name it pinch partner or new partner. It doesn't really matter. That then ends up getting printed on the proposal agreement itself, though. In the pipeline, select the partner onboarding pipeline. Leave everything else the way it is. This is all irrelevant. Associate it to the correct contact. So in this case, it's Shay Thayer. Shay Thayer. Associate it to the contact. Give it the association label decision maker and hit create. Now you see I've already done that, so there's one here, right? So then you go in here to the actual deal itself, and this is where you create the PandaDoc. Hit create document in the PandaDoc section. It'll pop up this screen here. From this screen, select the partner program agreement terms of service, AU. Select the client. It's not coming through for some dumb reason. Seems to be a little bit balked. Usually it comes through. Imagine that it is. There we go. I don't know why it's not. Weird. Something wrong there. Lame as.